Good day to every one of you, especially to our teacher, Mr. Cyril Lumonted, and to all of you, my classmates. I am Errol Judy Buganda, and I will be discussing about the strategies and techniques that foster the reading-writing connection. My topic is about poetry writing. Before anything else, let us define first the word poetry. Poetry derived from the Latin word poema, which means composition in verse. It is usually characterized by imaginative language and thoughts. It is a piece of writing that usually has figurative language and that is written in separate lines that often have a repeated rhythm and sometimes rhyme. It is also a piece of writing in striking language or showing imagination or beauty of thought which may or may not be in meter. Here are some of the famous poets in the world. First is William Shakespeare and his sonnet 18. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Rough winds do shake their darling buds of May, and summer's lease hath all too short a day. Sometime too short hath the eye of heaven shines, and often is his cold complexion dim, and every fair from some time declines, by chance or nature's changing course untrimmed. Now let us differentiate the word poetry and poem. Poetry is the use of words and language to evoke a writer's feelings and thoughts, while a poem is the arrangement of these words. Poetry is the process of creating literary piece using metaphor, symbols, and ambiguity, while a poem is the result of this process. Poetry is a literary form, whereas a poem is a written piece of work. Poetry is an art form, whereas a poem is composed work. Poetry is a literary art of writing poem, while a poem is the fundamental unit of poetry. Poetry is collected work, while a poem is individual work. Poetry is secondary imagination, whereas a poem is primary imagination. Here are the elements of poetry. First is mood or the reader's feelings. Next is tone or author's feelings toward poem subject. Next is symbolism, when something represents or stands for something else. Meter is the rhythm or beat established by a poem. Rhyme are the words that have the same ending sound. Figurative language, such as simile, metaphor, hyperbole, idiom, personification, etc. Connotation, suggesting of a meaning by a word apart from the thing it explicitly names or describes. Denotation, a direct specific meaning as distinct from an implied or associated idea. Repetition, author repeats a word, line, or phrase for emphasis. Alliteration, these are the words that have the same beginning sound.
Are the different types of poetry. First is Belanul. The first and third lines of the opening tercets, this one, first and third line, is rhyming with one another. Next is terza rima. It was invented by the Italian poet Dante Alighieri. The first and third lines rhyming with one another, while the second line rhyming with the first and third lines of another stanza, and it continues up to the last stanza. Another is Sistina. It is a lyrical fixed form consisting of 6 stanzas of 6 lines, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So this is the continuation. Another is Shinryu. It is a 3-line unrhymed Japanese poem, structurally similar to haiku, but treating human nature usually in ironic or satiric vein. Fifth one is Rundu. It is a fixed form of verse based on 2 rhyme sounds, consisting usually of 15 lines. Sixth one is Burlesque. It is a literary or dramatic work that seeks to ridicule by means of grotesque exaggeration or comic imitation. Iambic pentameter. It is a metrical foot in which an unstressed syllable is followed by a stressed syllable.
And now, let us come to the importance of poetry in teaching learning process. Poetry helps us know each other and build a community. When I read aloud, poetry is rhythm and music and sounds and beats. Poetry opens venues for speaking and listening. Poetry has space for English language learner And last is poetry builds resilience in kids and adults. It fosters socio-emotional learning.
Thank you for watching.